So this should be the final video I make on this project, and this one I'm going to go in depth over a few of my blueprints and stuff, and then I'll also go ahead and talk about how my experience has been with this project been. But for now, I'll go ahead and do with the blueprints first. So, the basic thing to learn for now is the player. One of the biggest things with the player that I kind of feel like I should have done better is, in the future, if I'm doing this again, the biggest thing I'm going to do is make the VR character one base class, and then just like make it modular to work as two child classes of large and small. That way, it allows me to not have to do blueprints twice over, and also with the variables and stuff, recreate them and functions and all kinds of things. I pretty much gathered a lot of the stuff before about how these systems work. In terms of anything new or finalized, the movement here, we've gone ahead and worked out the vignette system now. So as long as the vignette system's on, if you're moving, based on the input that you have made, it will go ahead and it will set the vignette based around the clamped value of the movement X, or for example the movement Y. This was a way that I did it to basically find a way to have your movement smoothly affect the vignette. I could have possibly found other ways, but due to the time remaining and such, I wanted to ensure that this is complete in a simple way. So I went ahead and I've got this working. To deal with if you're inputting in the opposite direction, like backwards or left, normally it would go to the minuses. So I have this here that basically goes ahead and detects if it's been below 0. And if it's true, then it will go ahead and negate it, so it'll make the negative numbers a positive number. And that will still allow this to work, of course. And of course, if you've seen in the video of the gameplay, you'll see that that has worked. The restart vignette stayed the same from my previous stuff. With the widget menu, we've of course got turn snap as a thing now. So in here, we have it so that in the game instance, we have another bool for snap turning. This would be for both just the fact that it's large and small characters are two separate things. In the future, if I did just make it one base thing, that wouldn't really be important. But the other reason why it's helpful to have in-game instances for if I did do a scene transitions, like main menus or different levels, this allows it to stay across. And in begin play, of course, it will go ahead and set the colors of the buttons to vary based on the value. And of course, this is just the simple old flip system that goes ahead and changes them. And of course, snap turning. Actually, I will go back to this so I can quickly show that. So the original thing was disconnected, but we added in this branch here that goes ahead and detect if it's snap turning. And then in the smooth turning, we added the branch and make that false. That way, it would allow us to, of course, have either or instead of both. I believe that's all for that. So the next things would be End Island. Yeah, this is stuff new. Basically, we've added in this section here so that whenever you have completed the missions, instead of just doing a print string, we now actually have a thing so it pops up with a win game text. Originally, I was going to just make this connect to the player's like widget, but then I discovered that in VR, that gets all kinds of finicky. But I'll explain that in a moment. But basically, we have an event that gets called soon after, where after a 3-second delay, we'll go ahead and remove the text, and after 4 seconds, we'll make the game, of course, quit. Now, I don't know if this necessarily works because of the different way I've gone about it, but as far as I know, the quit game and all that does work in the build. But basically, the reason why I'm saying this is because we've changed it around. So instead of it just being a thing connected to the player, we actually have a widget component here. And if, for example, I connect it again, you'll be able to see that it shows up like this. And that's what it's going to be like in-game, as you see in the video of gameplay. And just in general, everything has pretty much gotten commented on that I need to comment on now. I've explained some general stuff here and there of how things work. Not much has changed between most of these. If I haven't mentioned this one yet, in begin play, whenever the player starts, the controller of the islands sets its rotation to face the connected island location. So it'll go ahead, and that's why in gameplay when you start, the controllers are facing the island it's supposed to be controlling. So the puzzle, we have, of course, the button being one of the newer things, but I think I might have explained this. But basically, untick the button will go ahead and it will basically detect the player. And if the player is colliding with the collision, it will go ahead and also if it's not, the reason why I have that is because what I'm going to do, it will go ahead and move the button inwards when you're holding it, but if you move your hand away, it will go back outwards. And then, of course, it'll be clamped, so it just doesn't go on forever. But basically, if the buttons hit zero, so essentially when it's fully in, it will go ahead and destroy, for this instance, it will destroy the cube that gets spawned and create a new one. I've done this mainly because of how if you move islands into like one of these cubes, for instance, they just go launching. So I did this button system to basically prevent that by making it so that you can just spawn a new button if it launches off. And I've pretty much done this with the target practice too, just like here, of course. It will go ahead and button press and then spawn gun instead of spawn cube, which is literally just this. Same with here, but just with cube and gun. I could in the future basically make this one like actor or something rather than a function that gets repeatedly used. But again, these are like optimization things I could have done for the sake of them. Then we have things like how, in the target practice, I'm pretty sure I might have explained this, but basically on begin play, it'll go ahead and add the targets into an array and will then call in the target spline. And what happens here is it will set the spline's animation. It will set its play rate based around the length of the animation of how long I'd want it to be. So if I wanted to, I could adjust this like 50 seconds, and it will then modify the speed of the movement based around that to make it last 50 seconds long for a full loop. But then it will call the timeline event, which from here, it will go ahead and it will get access to all the targets that are made. And with each individual one, it will go ahead and set its position along the spline, which is pretty much how I've done spline stuff before. But the difference is, of course, this works with multiple ones. So we have this here to go ahead and create a split between them all so that they have a distance between each other. And then, of course, with each system, basically, if you hit the target with the projectile, it will go ahead and get rid of that target from the index and destroy it, in which then, of course, it will detect if the length of targets is hit 0, and if it has, then it will call the win puzzle. I could change this in the future because there's one annoying problem where if you shoot a turret, it does destroy the one that you collided with, except because of how this system works, it doesn't mean that then there'll be a gap in between where you just shot target was. So, and all of them just move back. Meaning if you just shoot the first one that's most ahead, you could just stay in that spot and shoot repeatedly for the others to just catch up. Or if you shoot the very far back, then the one in front despawns and moves back one, essentially. It's very finicky, but in the future, I'll definitely want to learn how to go about multiple targets, because multiple targets has been like a thing that I've just not done. So that's big thing about this. The trophy is a model that I made in Magic of Voxel. I did that because I felt like it was the easiest, quickest thing I could do that wouldn't have to resort to me doing some extra noting on my documents, like saying that I sourced it from anywhere, because I didn't. And of course, the projectile, which, detects the targets, and for each target that it hits, it will call in the target checked. Other than that, there isn't really much else to note down. Quickest things I want to mention is that not too long ago, I was kind of feeling very doubtful about this game. I had to simplify a lot of things. Though after I finally got a chance to try it out and see how it looks in video and such, I eventually enjoyed what I saw. I was relatively happy with how things were in the game. The game controls decently well, surprisingly. Performance is a problem on my PC, but of course I'll have to see how it works on the university PCs. And there were a few annoying instances where it just randomly decides to crash. I don't understand that problem. It just randomly comes up with a fatal error sometimes on my PC. Other than that, though, I'd say I hope that if I had more time, I would be able to have a main menu. And in the main menu, I'd have options, I'd have controls, I'd have a much better way of explaining stuff like this or how you beat the game. But due to time, I just really wanted to ensure that the game was working. And in terms of accessibility, for the most part, felt like I wanted to just learn how to develop in VR, and accessibility kind of was not a good option for me to decide on. But I still managed to get some things for accessibility, like the vignette and the snap turning, and also that this game completely is playable when sitting down or standing up, so it all works. It's just things like colorblindness and actually like fully researching into accessibility is more of a bonus for developing this in VR. And VR games often do require accessibility for people to play, and I understand that. That's why in the future, if I'm going to work on this project, I'm going to restart this from scratch or clean it up. And then I'm going to start working on a lot more things. I plan to do a lot more styles of puzzles, possibly even revamp the island control system to be exactly like I wanted it to be. Because originally I did want it to just be that you control the island itself with your hand instead of like these mini controllers. I think that the mini controllers was a nice quick resolve to this issue that I was having. Things like the end system and all that, to not quit the game but rather just go to the next level and such. Just all these lots of like mini things. I feel like in the future, if I have a lot more time, which I will, I could create a very decent VR experience here. Not to doubt on this one. I'd say the current build is I'd say it's like it's good for what I set out to do. This is still, like, of course, my first time doing VR, and I feel like I did a good job with it being my first time. And I didn't really have too much to assist me there. I had a few people that I knew that would be able to assist me throughout many things. And then there were YouTube channels that, for the most part, were semi-helpful. I had to always alter them around because they didn't do what I wanted, so I'd have to completely change them to make them work for my project. And while they're not exactly the cleanest way I would like to do them, I feel like with one of my more recent modules, I've learned a lot better at being modular with my systems. So I feel like if I did this again, I could use what I've learned there and completely overhaul this. But no, yes, I think overall, this is still just a very great VR test. And yes, I'll be going ahead and getting playtest results as best as possible. And I'll be seeing how people feel about my game. I'd say this should be it then. This should be my project, and I'm relatively happy with it. So this video's gone long enough, so I'm going to end it now. Goodbye.